morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I hope you guys been having a good day, and I hope you guys have been keeping cool because it has been a hot week. I don't know what's going on with the sun, but it's been hammering us these past couple of weeks. Last week it was hot. This week it was hot. I am telling you, if it wasn't for the water and the ice cream in my freezer, I'd be going to Dairy Queen every single day and getting myself an Oreo Blizzard. Now, well, for most of you, that sounds like a fantastic idea, and you're telling me, hey, why don't you do that? You got to understand, I'm trying to keep whatever figure I have left. Yep. I'm trying to keep it. Am I failing at it? Probably, but hey, I gotta attempt to do it. But anyway, in this week's episode, I want to talk about the newest game coming out in the Call of Duty franchise, which is Modern Warfare 3, coming out in November 10th, 2023. Now, I'm not gonna lie, before it was officially announced, I did not believe the rumors that were circling about this game. I thought the rumor that basically Activision was going to release a COD game every 2 years was real, especially since, hey, in the beginning of this year, the rumor was that they were just going to release a DLC this year, continuing the story where Modern Warfare 2 left off. I didn't really believe the rumors that Modern Warfare 3 was going to come out because one, Infinity Ward wouldn't have had the time, especially since this is the first time that a direct sequel from a previous entry is releasing a year after. Usually we gotta wait about, 2-3 years for a sequel? So before it was Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2, and so on and so forth. I mean, the longest we had to wait for a direct entry from a previous series was maybe 3 years at the most. And for a direct sequel to be made, and made by a different studio than the studio who previously made the other games, is insane. And my God, am I worried about the person making this game, because you know who it is? It's Sledgehammer. Yes, the Sledgehammer that made Call of Duty Vanguard, which was the lowest selling COD game since 2007, and was met with terrible reviews for both their multiplayer and their zombies mode. My God, was the zombies mode terrible. And I guess they're wanting to kind of combat the lower player count that is on Warzone 2.0. And with another Modern Warfare entry, they don't really have to change much. Keep the same guns, maybe switch out some stuff, and basically pat themselves on the back. But it's still kind of crazy because it was hinted with Warzone 2 that the Call of Duty games were going to take a break every couple years, which honestly, in hindsight, is a great idea. It would give studios a chance to breathe, it'd give them more time to work on the game, and it'd be really great to flesh out some new ideas, because after releasing a game every year for the past 15 years, you kind of start seeing a lot of the cracks get bigger because one, they're kind of getting and running out of ideas. Compared to the Battlefield series, where hey, at least there's a few years between the series, and not to mention they kind of get creative. Is it a good creative? Most of the time not, but hey, at least it's something. I mean, look at Battlefield 1. Great game taking place during World War I, and it was really great. You had basically the blimps, you had basically riding on horses, doing the train stuff. While it wasn't the best entry in the Battlefield series, at least it was new and inventive. Call of Duty, not so much, especially in recent time. But anyway, I'm very curious to see how this Modern Warfare game is going to be different, especially since it's Sledgehammer, not Infinity Ward, making this game. And giving it to Sledgehammer is a very interesting move. Sledgehammer is basically the baby of the Call of Duty developers, only have developing basically 3 previous titles, with this upcoming one being the 4th. And I want to kind of dive into the previous titles they've done because it can give us a window on what to expect with them making Modern Warfare 3. And the first game they ever made for Call of Duty was Advanced Warfare, which in my opinion was a really good COD game, especially the zombies mode. It was fresh, giving you an ectosuit so you can run around. Multiplayer with the exosuit was really fun because it made for fast gameplay. Instead of just boots on the ground, it kind of gave us a futuristic setting with Kevin Spacey being the main villain in the campaign. And my God, did I have really good memories of running on the wall running, basically jumping up pretty high, double jump. And while a lot of people didn't like it, I personally thought it was really cool. Again, it was something different than the previous titles had given us. And it was very inventive. People were like, I remember talking to a lot of people and they were like, oh my God, this is pretty cool. I can jump. I can do a bunch of stuff I hadn't really been able to do. And it just took Call of Duty in a really great direction. And it was a moderate success and did better than the previous title, which was Ghost, which in my opinion was a terrible game. My God, was it terrible. I didn't mind the alien mode though. That was kind of creative. But anyway, their next game that they made was basically World War II, which, where the title suggests, took place during World War II. It was very successful and earned $500 million in revenue in 3 days' time. And by the end of the year, it made over $1 billion. The game was fun from what I remember. The campaign was very predictable and they did kind of add some authenticity. The multiplayer was fun, especially with them implementing a division system. I remember booting up World War II and basically instead of having a menu, you basically had a hub where you can basically go train with different guns. You can jump into the multiplayer mode. It was very different, which isn't a bad thing being different, but I did get frustrated with the fact that some guns and perks were tied to certain divisions. So airborne, snipers, and all their stuff were only tied to their certain divisions. But I mean, it was okay. The game, in my opinion, it was fun at times, but it wasn't the best Call of Duty. But I was just happy for them to go back to World War II. Now, here's the thing. With Sledgehammer, their zombies mode for this entry was kind of terrible. They did change the formula, and this is where I'm talking about where being different can be a bad thing, because the zombies mode they made, I remember them talking about how they wanted to make zombies scary, that they wanted to basically mimic the horror movies. And instead of zombies coming from the windows, coming from the boards and stuff like that, they were going to try to jump scare you, that they were going to come from the roof, that you weren't basically able to board up the windows to stop them because they're going to be coming from the ground and you weren't going to be able to predict where they were going to come from. Now, this sounds great on paper. It sounds excellent, but it really became tacky. And the more I played it, the more I hated it. The first match I played in Zombies, I got to level 20 without even trying. It felt weak and empty and not that satisfying. And once you play it a couple times, the attempt to scare people, it just wears off. It doesn't become scary and it becomes predictable and tacky. And not to mention, you kind of had an idea where the zombies were going to show up, even the super ones. There was a progression system, but it rarely wasn't worth the grind. And even when you leveled up and got to the highest level, the stuff you got was terrible. And the story it sucked. Which was a shame because David Tennant was a great addition and I really thought his character was funny and added a lot of stuff to the story. Now, player base wise, this was able to keep a steady player base. It wasn't the greatest player base, but then again, it wasn't the worst. Now, after this game, they basically took off for a couple years, and basically the next entry in the Call of Duty series that they made was Vanguard, and which for some reason also took place during World War II. Now, at this point, a lot of people were tired of the World War II setting because a lot of games had come out by then that took place only in World War II, and it was overdone. The market was oversaturated with these games. Not to mention, Call of Duty had made several games taking place in this era, and with it being only a 2 to 3 year gap between World War II and Vanguard, not to mention we just came off the cuffs of Battlefield 1, people weren't that happy to go back to World War II. And honestly, I was one of them. I was really tired of the World War II setting. I already bought World War II Call of Duty and I wanted something new. I wanted something inventive. And going back to it just annoyed the heck out of me, so I didn't even bother buying this game. And on top of that, the game kind of looked bad. And from the people who did buy it, they told me they regretted it. The game modes were lackluster. The campaign was okay. It was more predictable than the previous one. And not to mention, they told me that they felt like the developer phoned in the game when they were making this game, One person I knew was a hardcore zombies fan and was devastated by the zombies mode. He mentioned that the maps were abysmal and felt like they were half done. There was no Easter egg story as well, no wonder weapons, limited perks, and you guys gotta remember, the Easter egg stories were the best part of the zombies mode. And there is a dedicated fan base ready to dive into the zombies mode to find the story and give us a 3-hour YouTube video explaining why this was happening and why basically a teddy bear on the edge of the map tells this story. Trust me, I've seen a lot of videos, and even the smallest detail apparently has so much backstory. But that's the thing, for them to not have something like this where people can dive in, play the game over and over again to basically find a story was a deep blow for the franchise and made you think, why even have this mode in the first place? Even since it was mission structured, it really felt like a stripped down zombies mode, and which was kind of bad considering that zombies mode is one of the main reasons why people want to buy a Call of Duty game. You tell them that there's a zombies mode, it's really great because one, they can take a break from kill confirm, demolition, and basically go to a zombies mode where it's basically mindless zombies. They can just keep killing the zombies, and if they really want to complete the Easter eggs, they can. And people are happy with that. You don't mess with that. And guess what Sledgehammer did? They messed with it. I was happy at this point once I heard and saw the videos that I had skipped this game. Now, for Sledgehammer's sake, I don't know if they were forced to make another game that took place during World War II, or that was their intent. There's not really much information going for Vanguard. For Sledgehammer's sake, I really hope it was Activision pushing them and forcing them to go back to World War II, because then I can say, alright, Sledgehammer has made some pretty good games. Sure, some of them were lackluster, but hey, it was Activision pushing them to make it, especially since, remember, Vanguard came out in 2021, and this was during COVID. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one, but still, it kind of sucks because it really felt like they phoned it in. Now, also, again, this entry, like I said previously, was the lowest selling COD game since 2007, and probably since Activision was getting sued for sexual harassment during the time, didn't help with the marketing of the game. And this sucks because one, it's making a lot of people very hesitant to try out another Sledgehammer game since they were very disappointed with the last one. And not to mention, since Sledgehammer is making Modern Warfare 3, it kind of makes people scared because there's the style that Sledgehammer has made games is vastly different than how Infinity Ward makes games. Now, I will say this, Sledgehammer did help with some of the development. I don't know how involved they were, but ironically enough, they co-developed the original Modern Warfare 3 that was released 12 years ago. So it's not their first time with a Modern Warfare entry, but it's their first time being the main developer for one. And I just don't know how different their style is going to be from Infinity Ward. Now, I'm very worried that they're either not going to be doing enough and have the game be lackluster, or they're going to be doing too much where the game is basically going to turn into another Vanguard with them trying to do stuff different, especially with the zombies mode. And my God, I really hope the zombies mode doesn't suck. From what I have been told and the rumors going around, their zombies mode is going to be similar to Outbreak. And if it is, I'm going to be happy because Outbreak was such a breath of fresh air for the Call of Duty franchise in terms of zombies. We had an open map. We were able to run around this map. We were able to teleport to different places. We had missions we had to do. And there was a lot of Easter eggs to collect if you knew where to get them and how to get them. It was fantastic, and it kind of sucked that we didn't get another entry or an update for Outbreak in Warzone. But I digress. For me, I'm just hoping they just put back the Easter egg stories and make a good zombies game where it's not tacky. Because for their previous two entries, they really failed making a good zombies game. But like I said, another thing that has made me worried is the fact that Modern Warfare 3 was originally going to be a DLC. So I'm really hoping that this game isn't rushed because, like I said before, Sledgehammer likes to be different. They like to try new things. And if this was originally going to be a DLC entry with basically an update to Warzone and a campaign, I have no idea how rushed they're going to be when making a multiplayer mode and this zombie mode coming up. Because remember, as previously stated, Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone's player count has been dropping. Not a lot of people are going back and not a lot of people are playing it. So if this turns out to be a very rushed out game with a stripped down zombies mode or a stripped down version of Outbreak and a terrible multiplayer, people aren't going to come back. And that is a bad sign for Sledgehammer because, in my opinion, this is probably Sledgehammer's last chance to make a good Call of Duty game to get back in Activision's good graces. And if they don't, Activision is probably going to pull an EA and dismantle the studio. Which, depending on who you ask, a lot of people will be happy about because Sledgehammer's games haven't made a big impact. Or much of an impact. If you look at Infinity Ward, if you look at Treyarch, these are basically Call of Duty's best studios making big entries and basically doing fantastic stuff. Like I said, Treyarch's last game was Cold War, which was fantastic. I love the multiplayer. I love the zombies mode. Infinity Ward has been going downhill, but I will give them this. They made a really good campaign, and if they would just fix their multiplayer in Warzone, they would be pretty good. But hey, we're talking about Sledgehammer, not Infinity Ward. I can probably do an entire episode on Infinity Ward, but maybe I'll save that for their next Call of Duty entry. But again, going into this, knowing what we know about Sledgehammer's previous games, it doesn't bode a lot of confidence for Modern Warfare 3. In my opinion, I really think that this is going to be a coin flip. I think that looking to the past can tell you what's going to happen in the present or at least the future. And with it comes to Sledgehammer with the future in Call of Duty, I just don't see it as a good thing. I really don't see them pulling through. Now, if they do, fantastic. But again, they haven't, in my opinion, made a great Call of Duty since Advanced Warfare, where they were given time to do a great story mode, a great campaign, and a great zombies mode. So with that being said, I really think that Modern Warfare 3 is going to be a dud, especially since it was originally going to be a DLC, and with Sledgehammer liking to do stuff different, rushing them into making a full-blown Call of Duty game is not going to be a good thing. But I hope I'm proven wrong. I really hope that Sledgehammer knocks this game out of the park and makes it the best Call of Duty game we've had in years. But with that being said, as of right now, I think this game is going to be a dud. I think it's going to be a terrible Call of Duty game, and I think it's going to be a terrible end to the Modern Warfare trilogy. If you think I'm wrong, I respect your opinion. I would love to hear your arguments on why you think that Sledgehammer is going to make this upcoming game brilliant. Maybe you have more information than I do. It could happen. It really could happen. But anyway, that's it for this week's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I really hope that I give you guys a lot to think about with this upcoming entry into the Call of Duty series. Maybe after listening to this episode, you'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to wait to buy the game until more people play it and review it, or before you buy. Because at this point, that's what I'm probably going to do. Wait for the before you buy video to come out and tell me if this game is going to be really great or if this game is going to suck. But for right now, in my opinion, I think it's going to suck. Anyway, I hope you guys have a cool rest of your week, and I hope you guys can eat all the ice cream you want, because like I said, if it wasn't for the ice cream in my freezer, I'd probably be at Dairy Queen right now. With that being said, you guys have a blessed one. Sayonara. See you later, and have a good one. Goodbye.